Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the P-LotPodcast. Grinch here, joined by, I'm just kidding. John here, joined once again by the main man himself, Michelangelo. Michael, just to let everybody know who may not be in our area, we had an ice storm last night.
hmm
Basically froze everybody in. I was going to visit our great aunt last night, but
Mm-mm.
that
That
wasn't
that
happening.
wasn't happening.
That wasn't happening. And speaking of frozen, chili, like just ice cold, like our ability to my football picking abilities have been, or like my football like abilities over the past week. This has been probably like one of the roughest weeks I've
Yeah,
had.
I mean, it wasn't a good start. We both did fairly well last week, but this week,
I have
Thursday,
to vent about
not a good
something
start.
involving fantasy football. I know you vented about how Dicker the kicker.
hmm
Basically, we joke about it getting field goal to death.
hmm
Teams kick 6 field goals, they can't score touchdowns, and you still lose. And I was playing my good friend CJ in fantasy in our semifinal, and I was heading into Monday night. I was up 55 points, and I was originally up like 100 points, entering like 7 o'clock on a Sunday, and he had Jalen Warren basically turn into like Saquon Barkley in the second half against
Yeah,
the Lions,
yeah.
and he probably got like 20 fantasy points in the span of 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this isn't good. Like, this is kind of how a comeback starts. And then in the nightcap, I had Zay Flowers, and near the end of the game, Zay Flowers had a heinous fumble. And I'm thinking, like, I don't want to be losing points, like, heading into Monday. And I'm up 55. He's got Brock Purdy and George Kittle. And Michael, wouldn't you know it, I lose by 4/10 of a point because Brock Purdy throws 5 touchdowns. He has the best game of his life, and the Colts defense. I'm just gonna say they looked disinterested. Is that
They're they've always been strong against the run, and the secondary has always kind of been their weak points. Why they went out and got Sauce Gardner, but with his injury, you've been able to throw pretty effectively against Indianapolis, and Brock Purdy really had a lot of success that day, as did George Kittle before he got hurt, had quite a day himself as well. So you really just one of the more brutal fantasy losses that I've seen for sure.
so?
Tough
Yeah,
one.
we're now officially a baseball pod. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
We're
but
not a baseball podcast. No, but
yet.
real quick, I want to talk about a couple non-football related things before we um, hop the into the NFL. Is first thing. This I looked at the Sixers and the Flyers attendances for this year, and like we're a pretty passionate fan base. Like we will show up to almost anything if we know that the team is treating the fans right. I guess way to describe it. Like they're making an active attempt to be good, or at the very least, like they're. Would you say it might be better to say that they're run competently?
Sure, more or less. I mean, I do think there's a portion of the outside of the Eagles fan base that is pretty fair weathery at times.
I
And we're
mean, I
kind of seeing
agree,
that.
but
We're seeing that for
but
sure.
there's such a diehard Eagles fan base
It's
that
besides that. It's everyone besides that.
I still think there's diehard Sixer and Flyers fans, but I would say they're the ones that don't feel like going to games. So I looked up the Sixers attendance, and the Sixers attendance is they're 17th in the NBA, which, Michael, you have a budding superstar on your roster in VJ Edgecombe. You have a current superstar on your team in Tyrese Maxey. And like Paul George isn't selling tickets, but Joel's still here. Like he's not the same obviously as he was even like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, Michael. It's
I
still
mean, it's still an engine. I mean,
it's still Joel Embiid. It's like when I would say like my best comp for Joel Embiid, like past comp for him is probably like Eric Lindros. Like he's still a star. Even if he's not playing every game, he's still a star. Like I don't know, dude. Is it just like I feel like people complain about like face value tickets, dude.
I mean, it's a little bit of everything, man.
You could buy some of these tickets though for
People
dirt
don't want to
cheap.
go. Like people are over it, I think.
Friend of the show, Zach bought sixth row from uh sixth row from the ice. Flyer Sabres like a month, like 3 weeks ago, for like $55 next to the Sabres bench.
It's a great seat. I mean, the truth is that people just don't want to go. I think the fair weatherness comes out once you really are in a drag. I mean, you saw it with the Phillies. John, we can't forget, we were worried going into the playoffs in 2022 if the stadium was going to be sold out because all throughout August and September, it was still only like 28,000 people going to games. It wasn't sellout crowds. And we were worried that we were going to be that loser fan base that if they have an afternoon weekday playoff game, no one's going to go. And thankfully, we were wrong. And really, ever since then, they sell out almost every night. I just think for the Flyers, for example, they need to, if they like to really start getting the fans in there, obviously, I think the team needs to just get better, get some better players. I think hockey's lost its step in like the American viewer eye line, where there's a lot of players that people just don't know about. Everyone's very much more familiar with the guys from 2008 until like 2017, where now, whole new regime, whole new players. People aren't totally in tune with it. That they need to make the playoffs. They need to be good going into the playoffs, and that's kind of how things start. If you go on some sort of run and then you'll get more consistent attendance. Where the Sixers, they went through that. They did get good. They did make the playoffs a lot and made the playoffs all the time, and they were winning pretty much around at least every time. Where they were top of attendance for the last decade, better part of it. And now we talk about how the apathy has really set in, where last year was an awful season and they lost a ton. And I don't think anyone realistically thinks this team could ever win anything, even if that might be wrong. But it's where it's currently at. And until I think we get post All-Star break, post trade deadline in the NBA, and the team's shaped into form, and if they're hopefully, knock on wood, still healthy, then I think you'll start getting the people's ears to perk up on the Sixers and believe again. But I think people are really checked out and aren't going to have any idea how the Sixers are doing, really. Like, they're not going to be paying attention. Like, they wouldn't know that Embiid had a calm 31 last night in a tough loss or whatever. Um, so I just think that's what we're going to be dealing with the winter sports teams is there's general apathy for kind of both of them. There's reasons to be excited about both teams, but I think the average fan at this point is not going to care about them until they're like slapped in the face with a reason to care.
Like I'm on StubHub right now for Flyers Ducks, and like I'm just looking at tickets, like $65 for nosebleeds, but I think it's for two tickets together.
I mean, that's expensive, I would say. Not expensive, but it's like that's a commodity game that people want to go to. I get it. It's just regardless, they start playing better and making another. I don't know what it would take for the Sixers, to be honest, because sometimes those people are very impossible to please with the basketball team, so it is what it is. But the Flyers, they'll just have to keep playing well and make the playoffs and get moments with these guys to sort of help build out that fan connection because I don't think any fans have any emotional connection with like anyone on the team at the moment, where everyone had that at some point with previous Flyers teams and like early Sixers playoff teams and obviously the Phillies and Eagles as well. But yeah, that's a little check in on the winter sports.
You want to talk about the winner the World Juniors, where like the Flyers have one of the best players
Sure. Yeah.
participating in the tournament for World Juniors. So obviously, like World Juniors is like the guys that aren't in the NHL, but there are prospects. So give me one more. Flyers in World. So your boy Chet Luchenko's in the World is in the World Juniors, which is weird because usually guys in the NHL don't who've played in the NHL even for a little bit aren't in the World Juniors.
Well, he got loaned, didn't he? He got sent
Yes.
back down. So
Porter Martone is the captain for Team Canada because under 20 participate in the tournament.
hmm
So it's Porter Martone, Jet Luchenko, Jack Berglund. He is the captain for Sweden. Michael, Flyers have a lot of guys with strong leadership,
it feels like something they need, doesn't it?
which they definitely need. Heikki Ruohonen is for Finland. He plays for Harvard, believe it or not.
Mm.
And then Flyers' fifth round pick from this past year, Max Westergaard. He is playing for Finland also. And they also Flyers have in for USA Shane Van Sage. He was a second round pick of the Flyers. He's also at Michigan State play and he plays with Porter Martone. So good representation for the Flyers in this tournament. We gotta we gotta play the clip of then we'll move on to football of Porter Martone post goal and I don't know how to describe it, but I sent you the tweet of some guy, some like boomer who was like totally triggered by, you know, well, I'll show you.
And the game.
Now Martone gets a penalty here. Well, Canada number 22, minor penalty for unsportsmanlike. So a little tap on Novotny there.
That's silly. I mean, and the game.
Now Martone gets a penalty here.
Yeah. So the Canada scores an empty netter, gives a little love tap to the Czech player, picks up a penalty for it. Nothing wrong with being a little cocky, especially at that age. You know, it's nice to have someone that maybe has a little bit of an edge at times. As we, these fans, they love their Travis Konechny. But
Yeah, TK just certainly has an edge. He's a knack for turning it over on his own end.
But anyways,
Anywho, all right. Christmas was ruined football wise for us? Question mark. Like it was. Like it was.
yeah,
It was.
nothing. No one did anything.
All
But
right, let's start from the beginning here. All
yeah,
right.
Cowboys
So,
Commanders. This game was very much. I don't know. It was like just kind of a classic Cowboy game, I'd say. Couple big play touchdowns for them. Couple, methodical drives. The Cowboys offense looked all in all quite good, and the defense was not up to snuff. Gave up their also their fair share of some big plays, and
Bill Krosky-Myers had his best game as a
right,
professional.
sure, sure. It was a very like nondescript, normal football game. I'd say nothing crazy happened. It was just
Cowboys ruining their draft positioning.
sure. I mean, they were never losing this game. I'd say.
No, of course they weren't
I
going to
mean, they're
lose.
500. It's more so like if only we had a star pass rusher, maybe we'd be in the
The
playoffs. That
Cowboys'
sort of thing.
defensive issues to me, Michael. So look, we all know like CeeDee Lamb had a big game. Javonte Williams got knocked out very early, so they were very much dependent on Dak Prescott torching the Commanders. Funny enough, I felt like the Commanders played so much off coverage off the Eagles receivers last week.
Hmm.
This game, it felt like, sort of like, oh, we gotta man up with the Cowboys, receivers like George Pickens. We got to get in his face, CeeDee Lamb. We got to get on him, and well, they still got torched.
Hmm.
Even though this game looks a lot closer than it did, I mean, I would say this that NFC East slop, dude. Eagles were the first team to clinch their division. They probably should have clinched it sooner than they did, Michael, because this division, the NFC East, is just really bad this year.
Hmm.
Um, real quick, I'm sorry, I'm like real quick with the Cowboys defense. Like Quinnen Williams was brought in to stop the run, right?
To help, sure.
Michael,
He's a good pass
I
rusher up
still
there
think,
too.
I still think that um, it's like this is like the old Eagles philosophy, like when Andy Reid and like Joe Banner were kind of like running the team. You can't chintz on linebackers and just be like, oh, if our D line is great, like we could stop the run. Michael, the Cowboys like linebacker play is probably amongst the worst in the NFL.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, their defense outside of their Kenny Clark, their Quinnen Williams, uh, it's very, very mediocre to bad outside of that, truly. Like they got Logan Wilson to help try to stabilize it out a little bit, but like it's just not good players. It's simple as that. They had their nice run of being solid for like 3 weeks, and that was to be argued on how good they actually were versus the maybe struggling offenses that they were playing against. But that really ran out, and it cost them. They just they didn't invest enough into their defense for this season. Where if they had, they clearly could have made some noise. I mean, they're 500 now, and they have one of the worst defenses in the league. If that defense was even just a little bit closer to league average, we're probably easily looking at a double-digit win team, and we're looking at a team that's probably a playoff team. The Eagles probably wouldn't have clinched at this point if the Cowboys were a little more serious in investing their resources. But alas, they're not, and thus they're not. And this is where we're at. So, yeah, first game, very much not a ton going on. The second game, though, with a lot more going on. The Lions, with their season on the line, they need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and put their faith back into the Packers losing potentially without Jordan Love. It was setting up decently where they'd be playing meaningful football at least week 18 against Max Brosmer of all people. And while Brosmer played pretty terribly, Jared Goff actually played worse, I'll say.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, Brian Flores was on one. He was cooking. I watched a pretty cool Theo Ash breakdown about it and how he'll show us like a 7-man zero blitz, but how he teaches some of the guys that don't have a free run to kind of just hang out at the line of scrimmage and jump and get ready to get in the window of where Goff wants to get rid of it quickly and force him to kind of hold it for just that extra beat. And then the pressure gets home and he gets sacked. Minnesota's edges are incredible in coverage. Van Ginkel seems to get at least one pick six every single season, and Dallas Turner is very comfortable dropping into coverage and playing well there. So it's what allows Minnesota to run these exotic sim pressures and exotic rushes and, show a certain look, and then you can drop your edges into coverage. And now all of a sudden, instead of your one-on-one matchup being a blitzing linebacker against the center or guard, where like that's pretty even, you'll favor the offensive line even. Instead, it's a blitzing linebacker that's one-on-one with Jahmyr Gibbs because they're expecting more pressure that doesn't come. And then Gibbs gets beat, and he's also not available as a check down, and Goff's obviously not running anywhere, and he gets sacked. So the defensive ideology to help stop the Lions, it really hinges on having obviously you gotta have good coverage edges and good coverage, linebackers, good blitzing linebackers, whatever. But the general idea of getting Goff off his spot and then also trying to take away his check down by sending that extra rusher or having someone drop into a pass lane. And he's in hell. Like truly, he's in hell. We saw it against the Eagles. How many passes got batted down at the line of scrimmage? At least five. And we saw it a lot more in Minnesota too. The passes getting batted down and him getting sacked. And it doesn't help that he himself also had 5 turnovers, 3 fumbles lost, and 2 interceptions. So just an all-time stinker from Goff when they needed him most. And once again, the Lions unable to run the football. It just shows, they can't lean on the run when they're going against, especially a experienced and very strong defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, Brian Flores. This is what you get. You get a total slot performance, having guys sink behind Amon-Ra St. Brown because they know that's where Goff wants to go. He can't get it out, stack. And it's a really good formula, and it
Yeah, they
totally
had
shut them
there
down.
was one play, Michael, where like you said, like guys that aren't really doing anything, just have them hang around the line of scrimmage. They had 4 guys converge at one point on Jahmyr Gibbs with Goff trying to check it down. It literally was Jared Goff, I think, to a certain extent, got exposed Thursday.
I mean, I don't think it's something we didn't know. You know what I mean? It's just you got to be able to stop their run in order to execute this.
Well, Michael, people talk about Jared Goff when they talk about like the top quarterbacks in the league. They're like, oh, he's just outside the top 10. Like, no, he's not. Like, I remember there were like people were parading his stats. Like, so Jared Goff got named to the Pro Bowl, right? He got named to the Pro Bowl.
I mean, that means next to nothing. But
no, but like when you get named to the Pro
Cam
Bowl,
Jurgens made the Pro Bowl.
Well, he was so like
Has Cam Jurgens been a Pro Bowler this year, John?
Of course he hasn't, Michael. I'm just saying it's absurd that like Jalen Hurts is more deserving of the Pro Bowl than Cam Jurgens, clearly.
Well, absolutely. Listen, I think the intelligent people are wise, and especially now, the way that Goff gets viewed, I think, with a Lions season where they're not able to run the balls effectively and they're not winning all the time and blowing all these teams out. Yeah, I think people will start to be honest about Goff again, that they didn't necessarily completely miss their window. I don't think it's slammed shut,
I
but
don't think it's slammed shut, but the
you need
window
retooling.
Well, the window looks pretty rough because if you look at the last 2 drafts by the Detroit Lions, Michael, they're not looking very good. Like everyone heralded, including me, heralded their GM, Brad Holmes, for, picking Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Jack Campbell, Aiden Hutchinson, but the last.
You got to be able to build out the margins. That's why the Eagles are so good, because you look at it's not just the Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, you're drafting all pros, Jalen Carter, that sort of thing. But it's your drafting of Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, where he is going to be a nicely paid linebacker this offseason. It's drafting a guy like Jalix Hunt, who is a very, very strong contributor as an edge rusher, and drafting, Nolan Smith, a 1st-round pick, I guess, so maybe that shouldn't count. But like getting a guy like Reed Blankenship over the years and developing him into a consistently good starter. Like, it's building out your team by nailing all your top draft picks and nailing a handful in the later rounds, like Moro Jomo, and that sets you up for sustained success because those are very, like, cost-effective, great players that are able to play way above what they're getting paid until it's time for them to get a new contract, and then you just gotta hope that you've been drafting well this whole time to be able to replace them, and the Lions haven't really been drafting well enough to replace some of the guys that have gotten banged up over the years or whatever, and this has really, really felt in their interior offensive line. I mean, obviously, the Frank Ragnow sudden retirement was tough. It's very hard to prepare for that sort of thing, but it is something that they should make and they need to make their number one priority fixing next season. We need to get a new center. We need to get a totally revamped interior offensive line. We might need to revamp the entire offensive line outside of Panay Sewell. I'm seeing people saying, "Oh, it's time to swing him around to left tackle." And sure, I do like knowing what it's like having an all-pro, all-time right tackle for over a decade now. I know that that conversation came up with the Eagles when it was like, "Oh, Jason Peters is on his way out. It's time to move Lane to left tackle." And the answer was just kind of like, no. Like, why don't we just replace the left tackle? And luckily, they were able to with Jordan Mailata. But I think the Lions, they really could revamp 4 of their 5 offensive line spots without it, I think, being like a crazy decision. I know it's not easy to do that in one off season, but it's definitely something they need to improve at least 2 of the spots because their strong suit is being physical, tough, and running it down your throat, not, you know, high flying passes all over the place. Yes, they have that in their game and that's what works for them, but it's built off of their great running attack and the play
I think
action
it's
game.
ironic right now. I think the irony of the Detroit Lions is their head coach is supposed to be this meat and potatoes like kind of guy in Dan Campbell.
Mhm.
But you look at their offense, it's all sizzle, like no steak. In other words, yeah, you'll get this great like crosser route with Isaac Tesla like wide open, but they can't pick up like they're if they're in a 3rd and 2, they can't run the ball to pick up the 3 yards the 2 or 3 yards that's necessary to get the first down. Like
Mhm.
that's their chief issue. And
Yeah.
you know, real quick with the Vikings, we'll move on to the last game, Michael. I think if I were to make a prediction right now, if John Harbaugh gets fired by the Ravens, I think Brian Flores might be the next head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. He wasn't in the lawsuit again. They weren't in the lawsuit against the NFL. So in other words, like the Giants were in there. If you remember,
Mhm.
um, Bill Belichick was texting Brian Flores congratulating him on the Giants head coaching job when he meant to text Brian Dable.
Right.
So he's not going to go to the Giants. I don't think he's going to go to the Titans because they probably want an offensive head coach, I'm going to assume, right? With Cam
Yeah,
Ward.
no, I think the Ravens is a great fit for Brian
You,
Flores.
you
I
already
mean,
have the established quarterback who, I mean,
you need multiple things. You need a revamped defense, which you can use slightly like loosely because the Ravens once again have done since middle of the season, their defense has actually been pretty good. Like they kind of have done that the last like 3 years now defensively, where it starts off like garbage and then it gets itself up to average and then it works its way up to be, it really wasn't that bad. But you could use a revamped scheme that is actually going to terrorize teams other than you're just hoping it gets by. And you need a culture switch. You need a vibe change. And I think Brian Flores can really switch up that culture into something that's, accountability all over the place as opposed to just blaming players and, you know, a little more of a workman's mentality, I think, from the entire team as opposed to it seems like they're just kind of going through the motions and hoping that the general big name talent takes over when I think that talent has kind of dissipated a little bit. It's not as good as we all thought it was going to be. And it's just blowing back in their faces. And I think that Brian Flores is a very intriguing coaching option for, I think, a lot of teams. I do think that, this whole issue and scandal that's kind of jettisoned him to be the D coordinator for this many years. The Vikings defense has been really dominant since he got there,
And not just that too, man. The guy that was getting all the credit for like the Vikings, like I guess recent success, I suppose, was Kevin O'Connell, and I think he's a good head coach. But if you look at like EPA over the last several years, Brian Flores' defense, his defensive EPA, definitely outranks
Sure,
Kevin O'Connell. And I know what you're going to say. Well, like what
it's the
quarterbacks?
quarterback. Like it's
But
bad quarterbacks.
Michael, what defensive players does Brian Flores have that's like, oh wow, that guy's like a Hall of Famer, or like, oh wow, that guy,
No, for sure. Like
you
that's
know,
yeah. Like he found
like we
it's
love
like
Vic,
Fangio. You find guys.
we love Vic Fangio, but Michael, the Eagles have D tackle Jesus and cornerback Jesus on the same team, and then you also have like other really good players. I'm not trying to discredit Vic Fangio, but if Jalen Carter played on the Vikings, he would be head and shoulders their best defensive player.
It's a lot of being a defensive coordinator is finding players that fit perfectly for your scheme. It's a little obviously that goes both ways, but on offense, you can kind of make things work with just a really talented player that maybe doesn't fit exactly what you're trying to do. Or on defense, if you have a really talented player that doesn't fit what you're trying to do, we've seen, especially here as Eagles fans, that struggle. Like you think of Nnamdi Asomugha, you think of Byron Maxwell, two really great players that come here and struggle because they weren't good scheme fits.
Bryce Huff,
And
it was
right,
most recent.
yes, exactly. And Minnesota has made it a point to get guys that fit that Flores scheme, or Flores making it work. I talked about it earlier. Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner, two great coverage edges, probably the best in the league, and that works really well for a guy like Flores who likes to send exotic looking blitzes and exotic looking fronts that can work because you have these edges that can drop into coverage and be effective by it. It's not just, oh, there's, a guy that's just dropping underneath and don't throw it in that exact direction. No, it's a guy that can read eyes and feel routes and have great senses on what's going on behind them and get into passing lanes. So um, it's a really nice fit for them, and it's a shame that I didn't realize that they are now past the Lions. They're both 500, and the Lions have a significantly worse division record. They got swept by the Vikings this year. It really goes to show you that if the Vikings had better quarterback play, they absolutely would be in the playoffs right now. Are you kidding me? You're telling me if they didn't go through a year of J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz, and Max Brosmer, they wouldn't be in a playoff spot? Like, to say the easy one was you had the guy in the building. You could have just kept Sam Darnold. They'd definitely be in a playoff spot with Sam Darnold. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I
They
think
might have made the
the
playoffs.
Vikings are going to fire their GM.
Maybe. They might have made the playoffs if they had, a guy like Marcus Mariota all season, or Kenny
But
Pickett.
the sad part is like, oh, we just need to get a quarterback. Well,
It's hard.
Brian Flores is going to be a head coach. Like he should be. Sorry, let me say this. He should be a head coach, without a doubt.
It's no guarantee that he's going to get it. That's for sure.
And there's no guarantee because the league conspiracy theories
has its issues.
Yes, that's one way to put it.
I mean, the Vikings.
Speaking of having issues, Michael, I try to be like the counterpoint guy to you just so we're not like the show's just not like an echo chamber. You're laughing, exactly. Dude, I'm sick of Bo Nix, man. He is so mediocre.
Yeah, no, he's not great. And
look, I get it. It's Travis Kelce's last Chief home game. They're, say what we want about Travis, whatever. He might be like, I don't know, Michael, like Chief history besides Patrick Mahomes. Like when Travis Kelce retires, is he going to be the greatest Chief until Patrick Mahomes retires. Like in
He's on that
franchise,
Mount Rushmore.
like isn't he on? If Chiefs Mount Rushmore, like he's got to be on it, right?
Easily. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, slam dunk pretty
I
comfortably.
mean, obviously the Chiefs had guys like Willie Lanier, like guys when they won the
And they
Super
had
Bowl.
guys even like Tony Gonzalez too. Like they had
Tony G, Eric Berry, like a couple of
I mean,
linemen,
Tyreek Hill, like, you
Brian
can't just totally
Waters,
forget that
Billy
too.
Rove, Tyreek
But
Hill.
regardless, yeah, his final hurrah, and
We
they
should have
go out.
known better, Michael. I don't care if
I
Chris
know we should have thought, but
was
regardless,
playing,
this was more about how, I guess, just how like the Broncos, they just keep winning this way. They keep winning. They have 11 now one-score victories, and that's the most since the Chiefs in, I think, like 2022. I mean, they an opposing quarterback throws 66 passing yards, and it took like you almost gave up the game-tying touchdown at the very end of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like the Chiefs' total offense, they had 66 total passing. They had 57 net passing yards. They had 82 total rushing yards. It's pretty atrocious. And Bo Nix threw the ball 38 times to accumulate 182 yards. If you think that's anything short of ass, like I'm not really sure where your head's at. He was not great. He made some nice throws down the stretch. That's kind of what his MO has been all season, of just being mid to bad all game, and then makes a couple throws, and that's great. You have a great defense. That's complementary football to an extent, that they can keep you in a game, and you're just asking your quarterback to do a handful of things, and then things all work out in the end. But there are a lot of we know how wide open the AFC is, with the top two seeds being New England and Denver, and potentially Jacksonville. There will be nothing that is guaranteed in that AFC playoff run. I think it's very wide open, and you could see any team beating any team in the playoff field, and you could see any good, great team get knocked out in the first round. I would not be shocked if the Broncos lose in the first round. I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos make the Super Bowl. It really is anyone's sort of prize to take, and Denver is like the perfect epitome of that, where they keep winning in these really ugly ways against all different types of teams, some really good teams, some bad teams, whatever, that it's just going to be one slip up that is going to, it feels like one mistake is going to decide every AFC playoff game this year, truly. And it's just a matter of who's going to make it, or who's going to force the other team to make it.
Can I give you a controversial take I have?
Okay.
So we talked about it on Christmas. You know how the Chiefs have the like the fifth fewest points allowed this year?
Yeah, which honestly feels like a farce. I'm kind of shocked
Oh,
that's true.
so my take was, I think their defense is not as good as like people think it is. Like, I saw people slandering Mahomes. I'm actually going to defend Patrick Mahomes here for a minute. They're like, "Oh, Mahomes has a top 5 defense. Clearly, like, he should not be nonstop praised at all. Like,
The Chiefs are 28th in third down conversion rate allowed. Only better than the Cincinnati Bengals, the Carolina Panthers, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Las Vegas Raiders. That is a horrific statistic to be next to. And you look and it's like, oh, the teams like at the top, Denver, Seattle, Houston, like there's your top 3 defenses in the league. You know what I mean? So it's not a good defense. They don't give up a lot of points because they limit possessions, and neither team is getting the ball a ton in those games.
Well, I just want to bring up something this too. Like, they play in the same division as Denver. We know how their offense struggles with Bo Nix when they have to face an average defense. We'll say average defense, Michael. Average.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers, which, look, the Chargers are a good team. However,
They're super banged up.
they're super banged up. So, like, they're not scoring tons of points. Like, they field goaled the Eagles to death, you know.
I mean, they field
So,
goal the Chiefs to death too.
like, they're all, like, they could get bounced in the first round. Well, whatever.
Yeah,
And
any team can.
The Raiders, Michael, we could make an argument that this Raider offense this year that's been shut out multiple times could be the worst offense in the modern era of the NFL. I know there's teams in like the expansion Bucks.
I mean, they play them. They've only played them once too, so they're only going to play them again next week.
I guess my point is they play a lot of bad offenses, is what I'm saying. And
Absolutely.
and this is why Matt Nagy will lose his job most likely. He's going to eat the blame for their offense and like their efficiency just being bad. Like they're not going to fire Andy Reid,
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid's not getting fired, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to take the bullet here. It's probably going to be Nagy because their offensive like efficiency has just gone down every year. And look, even though in the Super Bowl they got blown out by the Eagles, right? Michael, their offense was putrid for 3 quarters. Like they won the Super Bowl against the Eagles the first time because their offense was neck and neck.
I mean, it was peak efficiency. Like it was.
Yes.
The Chiefs could not have played a more efficient offensive performance.
But like with the Raiders, though, dude, you have Ashton Jeanty and.
Well, I mean, yeah. Regardless, we're talking about
the
Raiders. Like the Chiefs' defense is not great. I think anyone that actually watches the games and isn't just looking at a big fancy graphic from NFL on Fox or whatever, like that's the people that are watching know that it's not great. It's not a great unit. It's not a great team. I mean, top to bottom, they had a handful of really good players and no one that was really better than average besides their handful of great players. And that's tough, man. It's very tough to succeed in that way. But when you have a quarterback as good as Mahomes is, you kind of find a way. Unfortunately, though, none of the one score variance was going against them this year. They were losing a ton of one score games. I mean, we'll go back to it. The Eagles Chiefs game was the definition of it was the perfect way to realize, okay, this might not be the Chiefs year, where Travis Kelce of all people drops what would have been a go ahead touchdown and it gets intercepted by the Eagles, to which they drive down and score a touchdown and get up 2 possessions. And it's like that is exactly what the Chiefs have done to teams for 8 years now. The Jacksonville Jaguars game, Trevor Lawrence, after not only going on this miraculous drive, multiple fourth down conversions, falling on his face, looking like a wounded baby deer, and somehow managing to score a touchdown. Again, the most Chiefs way to win is how the Chiefs lost. And like there were signs all year that it was going to end pretty ugly. I think we all were just assuming that it would get back on track, and it just never did. So yeah, they have a serious retool ahead of them as well. But Denver does put themselves in a very good situation at 13-3, and they play the Chargers then the year, so that'll be fun. But we have some games to pick this week, John. We have 2 today on Saturday, and then a slate on Sunday and a game on Monday. So to open us up, Saturday 4:30, the Houston Texans are in SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are 1.5-point favorites. This is I think now with the Broncos beating Kansas City, they still did not clinch the division. So the Chargers still could technically get it. The Chargers, well, because they need to win out. I think if the Chargers just win their next 2 games, they are AFC West champions. And granted, that's beating the Texans today and beating the Broncos next week. But you look at the Texans, they still haven't official clinched yet. a playoff spot, and a win today would do that for them. And they're obviously also in a very tight race against the Jags for the division. Um, they do not play each other. Yeah, they do not play each other week 18. So they're both probably going to win week 18, but the Texans definitely need to win today to clinch. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans today, plus 1.5. I think they're actually going to win the game. The defense has been pretty lethal. It definitely took its foot off the gas a little bit against Vegas last week. In a game that they were like, okay, we'll just win anyways. And they did. It got a little sweaty, but ultimately they did. I think this is a ramp yourself back up sort of game against. I'm trying to envision what the Chargers can cook up against this pass rush with their depleted offensive line, and I'm really just not seeing much. So I think Herbert's really going to be in hell. He's going to have to put on the Superman cape the way he did against the Eagles, and perhaps the Texans offense is a good matchup for a game that is going to be ugly and low scoring, but I just think the defense is going to be a little too much. I think they're going to get to Herbert just a bit more than, say, the Eagles did and get them off the field a little bit more, not even give them opportunities to kick some field goals. So give me the Texans plus 1.5.
I'm going the other way here. I'm taking the Chargers, and I have a couple reasons why. I know the Texans got bailed out against the lowly Raiders. They did, right? And that was probably like that's the classic trap game, right? Looking ahead another week. I feel like, Michael, I feel like this Texans team, they're kind of due for a flat spot.
Was it not last week?
They won. Like, if the
you can be flat and win, like that's their
but we all
good
thought,
team.
But we all thought that the Chargers in Dallas, we were like, oh my God, Cowboy, like, even people we know that are very like wise to football all thought the Cowboys were going to win, because it's like that's kind of how the ebb and flow of the NFL like works, and the Chargers blew them out.
Yeah.
So Michael, I think I need to stop doubting the Chargers. And listen, I'm big on the Texans too. I'm not like an anti-Texans guy, but man, like, dude, like one thing no one talks about, the Chargers are actually really good at home. They're 6-2 at home this year. And listen, this might be a game where there's a lot of Charger fans there.
Listen, you need to it's a big spot for Herbert to relinquish last year. We can't forget the last time these two teams played, Justin Herbert having a historically bad
this is a revenge game. You don't think Justin
playoff
Herbert
game.
Listen, we think Justin Herbert's like a chill, like mellow guy, which he is. But man, you don't think Justin Herbert wants to exercise some demons today after getting
he threw 14 of 32, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions in the playoff game last year.
Like, this is going to be important because these two teams,
9 of his 14 completions went to Ladd McConkey.
Michael, these two teams may face one another in the playoffs.
I'm so excited for the AFC.
I'm taking the Chargers in the revenge game. I'm taking them in this game as well. Laying the 1.5.
Next game up, we have the Baltimore Ravens, led by Tyler Snoop Huntley, taking on Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. Now, the Packers, they have officially clinched a playoff spot now with the loss on Christmas the Detroit Lions suffered. So the NFC playoff field is set except for the NFC South division winner. So now the Packers at this point are definitely just playing for seeding. This is a tough game for me to think about because in my mind, in my gut, I really do think Green Bay is significantly better than Baltimore, even with all their issues. But now this is like a game where Green Bay, you look around the wild card picture, they're 9-5-1. The other wild card teams are coming out of the the NFC West. And like they both have 11 wins. Granted, the tie, I guess, the tie isn't really going to come into play unless the Niners and Rams both lose out. You know what I mean? So the Packers almost have nothing to play for. Like almost, they really are. The Bears could realistically lose their last 2 games, and they could leapfrog Chicago at
Bear it
11-5-1, but
You,
it feels
if
like
you're
Green
Green
Bay
Bay,
doesn't have a lot to
if
play
you're
for.
Green Bay though, you don't want to be going. This is kind
You
of a
can
tough
tune
spot.
yourselves up playing the Vikings next week, you know? Not that that's easy, but you just kinda gotta get they just kinda gotta get healthy.
I mean, Brian Flores literally just saw like completely shredded.
That's what I'm saying, like, I don't think we're gonna see Jordan Love the rest of the regular season. Would you play him against Minnesota in a game that you probably have nothing to play for?
No,
No. So, it's tough. The spread is 3. I guess
I'm reluctantly taking Baltimore.
I'm gonna reluctly take Green Bay. That's where
Really?
I'm at. Yeah,
Oh, so you think that they Ravens just quit on Harbaugh and they're just gonna?
kinda. Like, Lamar not,
I'm going. You know
like,
what?
doubtful, not even close to playing, like, it just
You know what? I'm flipping my pick. I'm
their
taking Green
season's
Bay.
dead
You know what?
anyways,
I'm
even if
taking
the
Green Bay
Steelers
as
win.
well. Like that end of that game to me, like the decision to not put Henry back in, that felt like a Harbaugh decision, even though he's not calling plays. Like, oh, don't put Derek out there because he's fumbles too much. Like we can't afford to fumble.
Whatever, yeah, it just seems dumb,
Like
and
that's how you alienate your
right,
players.
right. And this will if this holds true, this will bode very nicely Pittsburgh. They'll probably rest some starters, I think, against Cleveland if Baltimore does not win tonight because that'll mean the Steelers have clinched. So, next game, we will open up Sunday. We do have some slop I'm seeing here. Cardinals, Bengals. Yeesh. You know what I mean? The Bengals offense finally started cooking last week against Miami, and it just feels like they're gonna, for fun, just keep cooking to end the season because
I
it's gonna
think
be
we're
like,
gonna
oh,
get.
what could have happened? You know, what if with the Bengals? Big what ifs. Where the Cardinals are really just, I think, slowly the wax of the candle is slowly melting away on this Jonathan Gannon era of Cardinals football. So.
Michael, I think it's important that we pull up Tankathon
Mhm.
because this is when teams bomb for draft positioning, right? This time of
Mhm.
year. I am taking the Bengals.
Me too.
The Cardinals are 6th right now, according to Tankathon, in the NFL draft order. Unfortunately for them, they have a very high strength of schedule. That's how you like fall in the order. They have a
Mhm.
strength of schedule of 578 because they play in a division with 3 playoff teams. However,
Mhm.
barring some teams winning or losing, they could potentially get up to, I think, as high as maybe 3. And listen, we both said this
Actually,
before.
2, right? Couldn't they get to 2?
Well, we'll talk about this later with you mentioned slop. Well, the ultimate slop game is on tomorrow's slate.
Yeah. But
Um, Michael, like I think there's 2 quarterbacks worth being taken in the first round this year. We know one, Fernando. Fernando's going to probably go number 1 overall. The other's going to be, if he decides to come out, which I think he should, because he could be a top 3 pick potentially. Is Dante Moore from Oregon. Like if he has a strong CFP performance this year, there's already people talking about him going top 3 overall. They're like, oh, if he decides to come out, like all he has to do is look good at his pro day, and he will go top 3. So
yeah.
we
Yeah,
know
we'll see.
Kyler Murray's like halfway out the door already. They need a quarterback.
Mhm. Right.
And you know what? And if you want to entice a good offensive coach, allowing him to pick the franchise quarterback is probably the way to go. So with that being said, I'm taking the Bengals laying the 7.
Next game up, the Seahawks play the Panthers in Carolina. Now, the public very heavy on the Panthers to cover this 7-point spread the Seahawks are laying. And the Panthers, what they've been good at all season
Yes,
is
Bryce Young as an underdog, his record is extremely good. It's whenever they're favored in a game is when they struggle. Case in point,
early in the season they struggled. They started 0-2, getting hammered by the Jags before they were really good. They lost to the Cardinals, and then they blow out Atlanta, and then followed up immediately by getting railroaded by New England. Then they play a bunch of close games against the Dolphins, not a great team, against the Cowboys, an okay team, against the Jets, obviously a very bad team. Then they get railed by the Bills, and we're like, okay, we know what this team is. They're fine against fine teams, but they can't beat the good teams. And then what do? They go and beat Green Bay in Green Bay, and we're like, whoa, maybe the Panthers do have something. And they followed up and lose to the Saints, and we're like, okay, there they are. They beat the Falcons in overtime. It's like, okay, that's what they are. They don't get blown out, but they lose pretty comfortably to the Niners, and it's like, yeah, we know what they are. And then they beat the Rams. It's like, whoa, so they just kind of keep doing this sort of thing. It would make sense to take Carolina to cover the spread. Let me look up something. I want to see if they win this week, do they clinch a playoff spot? Do they win the division with beating Seattle?
yes, because they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next week.
Well, I know. That's why I want to know if they beat Seattle and Tampa wins, and then no, see, it doesn't even matter if they win today. Winning today means nothing unless the Buccaneers also lose to the Dolphins, which I don't think either of us are thinking Tampa's going to lose to Miami, even as bad as they've been playing. So this game is almost about as next to meaningless as it could possibly be. Where if I'm Carolina, I'm looking at this game like I'm trying to get in and get out and be as geared up and healthy as I could be entering that Buccaneers game. I do not care even one iota about the result of this game. I just care about getting Bryce Young and my receivers and my linemen and my defense that isn't that great as healthy as possible and giving me one last push in Tampa to try and win the division. That's all that really matters. You could go out and you could go crazy and put all your max effort and lose to Seattle by a field goal, but you get banged up along the way. It doesn't feel worth it to me. And even if you do somehow find a way to win, when you go to scoreboard watch and you see Tampa's beating Miami 31-13, you're going to be like, okay, well, that was for nothing. It all comes down to the Week 18 Tampa game anyway. So I'm going to take Seattle, where they are still in a position. They're trying to clinch the 1 seed here, and they I don't they don't I don't think they can clinch the 1 seed this week unless they get a bunch of losses from NFC teams, um, which is impossible with one regard because the Bears and the Niners both play each other at 11-4. So I think Seattle they just need this one a lot more than the Panthers do, to be honest with you. So give me the Seahawks -7.
Yeah, Bryce Young as an underdog this year has performed way better than whenever they're favored. You mentioned some of those bad losses. I believe they were favored in a lot of those games when they kind of just stunk,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why a lot of people are taking the Panthers laying the 7 because Bryce Young just plays so well as an underdog. I agree with you, Michael. I mean, let's just double check the standings though. I just want to because there's also the nature of common opponents. And the Seahawks, I believe, lost to Tampa early on in the year, right?
It won't matter. I did the little playoff predictor. It won't matter because they'll have the tiebreaker, and the next tiebreaker is head to head, which they would have split, and then I think in the division,
even if the Buccaneers lose and the Carolina Panthers win, they're still playing for the division.
Well, that's my point. That's the only difference. It would have to come down to if they both finish with the same record, Tampa's going to get the edge because I think the common opponents are already decided, even if they beat Seattle. And obviously, if they lose to Seattle, that's whatever. But
because I have the standings pulled up. The Panthers are a game ahead of the Buccaneers in the standings. If the Panthers win and the Buccaneers lose,
sure,
then Tampa's eliminated from the playoffs.
yeah. But
And
it's
there's
just a
no
matter of if you
guarantee
think that's
Tampa's
going to
winning
happen.
tomorrow. By the way, you damn well know damn well as much as I do that Tampa team looks like it's on life support.
Carolina clinches with a win and a Tampa loss. Just feels unlikely. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Just
I don't.
feels
But dude,
unlikely.
could you imagine if the Panthers were like, oh, let's just
I mean,
half-ass this
John, they
early?
lost against the Saints when they had the opportunity to really stick their knives in the throat of the
Yeah,
Buccaneers, and
but
they
they were
lost to
trying to
New
win that game.
Orleans.
But they were trying to win that game, and I don't know.
They were trying and they lost, and now Carolina's got an opportunity
You're,
against the
you're. I think
significantly better team.
I think you're Monday morning quarterbacking that a little too much because let's
They
say
lost to New Orleans.
it's a division game.
Okay, and this is against the best team in the NFC, arguably.
I think Seattle might be due for a flat spot because you had that huge emotional win over the
Yeah, that was
Rams.
like almost 2 weeks ago.
It's the biggest, Michael. That's probably the biggest win in Seahawk history since like beating Denver in the Super Bowl. I don't know, maybe like you
Well,
saw
I
like
mean,
it's kind of like oh my god we're back kind of win if you're a Seahawks fan. Like oh we're not
go ahead, take Carolina. You want to go ahead. That's
I'm
what you're
taking
getting at
Carolina.
here.
Why not? Let's just
Yeah,
take
I mean,
Carolina.
that's what you want to do. Next game we have is
This could be
Steelers
meaningless.
Browns. This could be meaningless, and we're both picking Green Bay. So if we want to stay consistent with our vessels here, the Steelers would have already clinched by the time this game is kicking off. And there is a chance that Rodgers does not play in this game. And honestly,
Wouldn't
he
it
probably
be
shouldn't.
poetic?
He's super banged up.
It would be poetic if Myles Garrett breaks the sack record sacking Mason Rudolph, wouldn't it?
It would be wonderful. I'm taking the Browns +3 straight up. I think that there's just a natural guaranteed letdown when you clinch a division with zero opportunity to have any other movement. They're gonna they're just not gonna they can't win a division, pass a division team. They only have 9 wins. They would need a bunch of lose outs, and maybe at that rate they would have a tiebreaker somewhere to be the 3 seed, which that just doesn't feel all that probable. So it feels like the Steelers are going to kind of take their foot off the gas if Baltimore loses, which we're both predicting. So I'm taking the Browns +3. I could very much see this Mason Rudolph getting terrorized by Myles Garrett for the record, and the Browns defense as a whole just locking up and putting Pittsburgh in some uncomfortable situations all game.
I'm taking the Browns as well. I do think I think we see the sack record broken tomorrow. Shout out Myles Garrett. It's funny. When Myles Garrett swung his helmet at Mason Rudolph, it felt like after he got that suspension, he like fully realized after he came back, he kind of fully realized his potential and went on this his spree of his dominance didn't really start
He
until
went
after
from a great player to
all timer.
we're talking about him with Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White. Like,
Correct.
right.
So I think I think it's like a perfect like way to everything comes full circle by him destroying Mason Rudolph or smashing him into 1,000 pieces tomorrow.
Next game, we have the Saints taking on the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans won their first game in a while, beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Saints
They're
are on a
stirring
winning
up their
streak.
tank, Michael. As we're
They are.
speaking.
They are on a full-blown 3-game winning streak at this point, and they're favored to win again. This is a road spot for them, but I have a hard time just seeing this Saints team win, or excuse me, seeing this Titans team win 2 in a row. Where the Saints, I was looking up that third down conversion stat. The Saints are fourth in, like fourth best in third down conversion rate allowed, and for a team with a rookie quarterback, that's a pretty tough recipe. And the Saints just seem a lot more calm out there than what the Titans look like, and a lot of that I think has to do with some coaching and just some more general talent in that room versus what's in the Titans room. So I'm gonna keep riding with Shuck, and I'm gonna take New Orleans to keep ruining their tank, and the Titans throwing themselves back up for a top 3 pick.
Dude, Cam Ward. How many years in college did Cam Ward play?
I don't know, probably 3, 4,
Like I think
probably
it's like
3.
I think it's like 5.
He was in really.
Yeah, Cam Ward. How old is Cam Ward? I feel like he is like he's 23. So he's definitely played at least 5 years of college ball. We know Shucks
He
played like
played 3 years of college ball.
so
3 years.
he graduated high school when he was 20.
I mean, his sophomore, he played 2 years at Washington State, and then 1 year at Miami. He probably came in and well, when does he like turn? You know what I mean? He probably turned.
So 1, 2,
He's
3,
my
4. He's
age.
played 5 years of college ball because he played 2 years in FCS. He played for Incarnate Word. So he played at I believe Incarnate Word is a historically black college.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. And then he transferred to Washington State, and then he transferred to Miami.
How
So
did they not show that in College Football Reference? That's a bit of a scam. It really makes you
I
think that he might
agree.
play 3 years.
It is a scam. But here's the thing, though, is that, well, interestingly enough, the best Titans quarterback of all time, Steve McNair. I'm not including the Houston Oilers lineage. Obviously, Warren Moon would be the greatest in that. But since they became the Titans, Steve McNair was the best quarterback in franchise history, and he played at a historically black college. Cam Ward came from a historically black college. All that being said, I think I'm going with the Titans tomorrow, Michael, and and this is kind of my reasoning is Cam Ward's playing really well. Like if Cam Ward, like Cam Ward's playing with an offensive roster as bad as the Raiders. And
Mm-hmm.
yet he's like kind of carrying that offense.
Absolutely.
He's carrying that offense. And Michael, I just feel like New Orleans, they're playing really well. I think they're due for another flat spot. And I'm not sold on Tyler Shuck. I know you're kind of like
And sold, I wouldn't call myself
I don't
sold,
know.
but I'll
I'm not
call
saying you're. I don't
myself
think you're not sold on either, but you're sort of like
deserves another year, and I think has
yeah.
played solid.
Our text messages back and forth. You're like, wow, look at that Shuck scramble, or oh, what a
Mhm.
great throw by Shuck, and and then I get like 10-9 texts, and I'm like, okay, we know Michael clearly likes Shuck. I know
And I
like
did not like Shuck coming out of college. I thought that
no
was
one likes
one of the
Shuck coming out of
I
college.
thought that was one of the dumbest picks ever.
That
And
was one of
listen,
the worst. He had the worst combine performance by a quarterback ever.
yeah, he was yeah.
I was expected to be picked high.
Mhm. Mhm. All right, so you're going also with or not also, but with the Titans. And I'm going with the Saints there. Next game, we have a 5.5-point spread. The Buccaneers on the road favored against the Miami Dolphins. So we alluded to this game earlier. I already kind of shared my thoughts. Granted, Tampa's 5-10 against the spread. They're really not, and it's not even that far from the record. They're only 7-8. So, you know, they're not a great team. Just case in full stop. They're not great. The quarterback play is not great, and they're very banged up. Their coaching's not great. The defense is fine at
The
best.
Dolphins have had two really bad defensive performances in the past 2 weeks, but I thought their defense before that was playing rather well.
It was, and then it just seems like it's checked out. I'm going with Tampa. Like, this is about as desperate as a team could be, and they're floundering and they're spiraling. And listen, maybe they're just going to full blown collapse, and it gets usually a collapse culminates in losing to a really bad team outside of your division. You know, we talk about the Eagles in 2023 all the time, and the collapse really culminated and came to a head when they lost at home to the Cardinals. And
When
you know,
losing on
you
the road
can
to the Dolphins kind of be like the same thing.
yeah, like, you can lose a home game, like, you can lose a division game against the Saints where, like, man, the Saints stink, but it's still a division game that holds some sort of weight. Where losing here would be like, okay, full-blown collapse. Obviously, we should have seen it coming, but we were all afraid to call it. Um, after losing 2 tough division games to Atlanta and New Orleans and Carolina, really, they lost 3 really tough division games. And this is like okay, we need to put a Band-Aid on this for at least a little bit before we get ready for a home game against the Panthers. Like, they're going to be favored in that game. If Tampa wins and, like, they're healthy, and even if Carolina loses, win, doesn't really matter. Tampa's going to be favored in the Week 18 matchup to end the season. So it's just a matter of if they can take care of their business tomorrow, and I do think they do. So I'm going to take Tampa minus 5.5.
I'm going with the Dolphins here, and this is kind of my reasoning why is I don't think Mike McDaniel's getting fired. So them just quitting and then announcing they're keeping the head coach just feels like a really bad recipe. I think the Bengals, after getting 2 bad losses in a row, they were due to break out offensively. I think that was a rough spot for the Dolphins. Michael, Baker Mayfield's still playing really poorly, and I don't really when you've played bad for 2 straight months, I just don't really envision a scenario where he's just going to magically figure everything out tomorrow and light up the scoreboard. You alluded to Bucky Irving not being the same. Michael, the Buccaneers offense is broken.
Yeah. Well, the quarterback stinks.
And I also feel like tomorrow, Achan's playing, right?
Yeah.
Feels like tomorrow's going to be like wow, like Devon Achan really should be talked about amongst the league's best running backs because he just had 200 all-purpose yards against Tampa Bay, with a rookie quarterback who, let's face it, Mike McDaniel's trying to find his Brock Purdy. I don't know if he thinks he has it in Quinn Ewers. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I think the Bengals had way more juice than this Tampa team. This Tampa team is got 1 foot in the grave, so to speak.
All right, so you're taking Miami.
I'm taking Miami.
How about it? Next game, Jags Colts. Unfortunately for the
Speaking of
Colts,
1 foot in the grave.
yeah. Is Rivers even is he going to play, or are they going to play Leonard, or?
I mean, realistically, they should play Riley Leonard because you want to talk about being in a dire situation. The Colts,
Yeah, they're not officially eliminated, but
like to me, I'm 100% confident they're going to bring Daniel Jones back for next year because they kind of don't have much of a choice.
I definitely would not be that confident. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, how good's he going to look coming off an Achilles? I can't feel too confident about that. It is going to be Rivers to start this week. I guess they're not officially eliminated yet. They could be eliminated by the end of today if the Texans do win, I'm pretty sure. Um, but it will be Rivers again.
Well, let me throw a scenario out for you. If the Texans lose tonight, do the Jaguars rest their starters? Do they clinch the division is what I'm asking.
And the
Because
Jags have too much to play for. The Jags can still win out and pass Denver.
Oh, well, they're a game behind New England. And they're 2 games behind Denver. So you're okay, they do have to play their starters. Michael, who do the Colts play to end the season? Let's see. I think they win one of these Rivers games, is what I'm saying.
Do they? They play the Jags and the Texans, man. I would not be so
Oh,
certain
they play the
about that.
Texans? Oh, yeah, they're toast. They're donezo.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jags here. They're playing really good ball.
I'm taking the Jags as well.
Yeah. Just tough. I mean, Daniel Jones going down has essentially tanked all of what Jonathan Taylor has been doing all season, partially because you don't have the running threat of the quarterback, but also teams know what you want to do. They'll take their chances with Rivers because he really can't throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field. And knowing that if the Colts are going to ever have a shot of winning something, they need to lean on Taylor. So to try to take him away as best as you can, this is what you get. So next game we have Patriots Jets. 13.5 point spread. Feels enormous.
The Jets,
especially
so the Jets
coming
seem
off
to
that
cover
emotional
these
win.
huge spreads when they had Tyrod Taylor in a quarterback. That is, they seem hell bent on trying to find something in Brady Cook. I mean,
that just sounds like the commitment.
Like Tyrod Taylor is backing up Brady Cook tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the tank. I mean, that's what it is. They're trying to lose, and New England. They're looking to clinch a top seed.
So, what would you call this? The failing for Fernando? Is that what we're?
Yeah, I mean, it's the 1 seed is going to come down to week 18 more likely than not, where the Broncos have a significantly more difficult matchup against the Chargers, and the Patriots play Miami. So it's going to come down to it. New England just has to keep taking care of their business to put themselves in an opportunity. We know how important that bye week's going to be. So give me New England to cover the big spread. Sure, why not? I'll humor myself.
I'm taking New England as well.
13.5. That's 13.5. Or excuse me. All right, now this takes us to 4 o'clock slate. Opening it up. Giants Raiders.
Giants.
This is the tank bowl, the tank bowl of all tank bowls. The only two team wins.
The Raiders
teams left in the NFL.
The Raiders shut down their two best players. And one of them is very upset about it. He had to be. Was he escorted out of the team building, or was he like?
I don't know. I don't know what the truth to the reports are, but I will believe that he was not happy that he was told he wasn't playing. That is like grounds for an investigation, to be completely honest with you. I do think they should get looked at a little bit of intentionally sitting players out for the sake of losing and bettering your draft position.
I'm actually very confident that Max Crosby won't be a Raider next year because
the writing's been on the wall for a while, and I think this could be the nail in the coffin for sure.
The fact he goes on his podcast and he's like, "Oh, I would love to play for a city like Philadelphia," like, and his wife's an Eagles cheerleader. Like, he basically should have just said, Howie, like, please call my agent, please call the Raiders.
You'd have to lose their job, right?
What
if he was here? I don't think you can have relations with the cheerleader that's on your team.
Former Eagles cheerleader.
Okay. But yeah, no, for sure. This is an interesting one. I think I'm going to lean the Giants I don't know, man. Dude, Jackson Dart is atrocious. I don't know. Like, Gino has some juice, and he's
No.
gonna like he had some juice last week. He made some nice throws. He has more he right now he has more juice than what Jackson Dart has been putting on display the last few weeks. Jackson Dart threw for 33 passing yards last week, John. You could throw for 33 passing yards.
Michael,
Dump
this
a
is
couple
the
screens
worst
off.
offense in like the last 20 years.
I mean, what is the Giants? Like,
Not the worst offense in the last 20 years. They're bad, but like I'm talking
I
about historically
mean,
bad. I'm
the
talking like
Giants are horrible.
Michael, you don't sit your two best players because for funsies. You're not doing it to amuse yourself. There's a specific reason why they did that. Is they want to lose. They want to lose. And listen, even though the Giants are bad, Michael, Max Brosmer almost handed them that game last week. They
I
played
mean,
against.
Andrew Thomas is out.
Yeah, he's
They
always
they're
injured.
sitting Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, but he's actually injured.
It's okay. They took out Max Crosby and they were like, you know what? Boom, left tackle out. That's what happened here. So I don't know, man. This is a tough
We're gonna
one.
find out that Max Crosby had some like contract incentive where he needs like
He
more money
probably
back.
did. I will. Who's favored? This game's in Vegas, but the Giants are favored. And the Giants are currently slightly better with the like. This
How the
is so
hell
tough.
did they beat New England to start the year? Is my question.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is right. You're taking the Giants. Give me. They both lost 9 in a row too. My God, the teams are terrible. I don't know, man. Sure, I'll hate watch. I'll take the Giants with you. We're rooting for the Giants. It's a hate root. But God. Anyways, next game we have. Well, I guess we'll wait. We have Eagles Bills next, but we'll skip. Well, you know what? No, because since we've been doing them in order, they've been playing better. So let's talk about Eagles Bills here in Buffalo. Eagles are underdogs. Second time they've been underdogs all season. They're one and a
Was
half
the
point
Chiefs game the
underdogs.
first one?
Yeah, I want to. I can verify. No. Green Bay. They were underdogs in Green Bay. That's right. Which that makes sense. So yeah, second time they've been underdogs all year.
The Bills are 6-1 at home this year.
This is a straight 50-50 split in Vegas. With the spread, the money line favoring Buffalo. I don't know, man. I do think that this is another great opportunity for the Eagles to keep building on their run game. This is a horrible, horrible, horrible run defense, and really just a bad defense kind of period. This game looks like it could be impacted by weather. What else is new? It feels like every Eagles game's been impacted by weather for the last 2 months. And yeah, I think the Eagles are more equipped to stop what Buffalo wants to do, as opposed to vice versa. I think that the Eagles defense has more bodies to stop their run game and how they want to run, and I don't think the Bills receivers have any chance to really get open against the Eagles secondary, whereas the Buffalo defense, outside of their pass rush, is very, very ass, I'll say. And I think the Eagles have the ability to move the ball on them. I'm not saying this is going to be like a blowout or anything. Obviously, Josh Allen's tremendous, but when you get Jalen Carter back, that is extremely helpful for a team that wants to pound the rock and they want to run the ball and they're going to try. But the Eagles are very well equipped to stop that. And I don't think they have the receivers to pressure the Eagles' defensive backs effectively enough. So give me the Eagles plus 1.5. I really do think they're winning tomorrow.
I'm taking the Bills, and I think it's going to be an extremely close game. My concern, though, but the Bills' rush defense is like putrid. You're 100% right. My concern, though, is the Eagles' rush defense. It's not very good. Like, it's not atrocious.
Carter back.
They're getting, even with Carter, though, they were struggling. Like,
because he was hurt. I mean, did you hear what he said? He said he couldn't do a push-up, and now like he's lifting again. It's like, dude, a grown man couldn't do a push-up. No wonder he was getting manhandled.
I mean, my concern is like a couple things. One, like the Bills need to win this game. Like,
do they? For what?
The division?
I mean, sure, but
the Jets have a layup at 1:00. The Patriots have a layup at 1:00 with the Jets. Excuse me.
That's my point. The Patriots have 2 layups to end the season.
Oh, so So what? Do they?
I'm not saying the Bills are going to like take their foot off the gas. My point is that I don't think they're not catching them. The Patriots, unless they lose to the Jets or the Dolphins to end the season, they're not catching New England. And granted, I guess it's for the wild card then, but we talked about it at length. I guess you want to push for the 5 seed, so you go play Pittsburgh as opposed to anyone else. But they're already if I'm correct, they're already inside track to get the 5 seed if they win one of their last 2 games, right? No, they would get the 6 seed if the Chargers. Well, God, everything all depends. The Chargers have 2 tough games. Bills have a tough game. It's so hard to predict. I have no idea what's going to happen with a lot of these.
Well, I think from the Bills' standpoint, like, listen, Josh Allen hasn't really been like a turnover machine the last couple games. Like, he's been very economical.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, it does kind of feel like. I mean, people had this circled as a Super Bowl preview. I don't think anyone's confident nationally in the Eagles getting back to the Super Bowl. I'll say this. Buffalo's a tough place to play in. We've seen what this Eagles team can do in rough weather. I think tomorrow will be a very critical game for the Eagles' offensive line, and I think Saquon.
Absolutely.
We saw like signs of life against the Commanders, and then the previous week against the Raiders. But those teams are awful. And listen, the Bills' defense is bad still. Like, they're probably going to win 12 games. Like, they're not bad. The Bills aren't a bad football team. I don't know, man. It just feels like this is going to be a game decided on penalties.
I think the kicking game is also going to be important this week, unfortunately.
I agree.
Those have been kicking.
And I think I also think it's going to be decided by penalties because, look, man, Josh Allen is the biggest flopper in the NFL. I know we complain about Mahomes doing that. Josh Allen has taken it to almost NBA / like Premier League levels of begging for calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I can on it and listen, dude. We had this conspiracy theory. I mean, we had this conspiracy theory with the tush push where, okay, you want to have the tush push, that's fine. We're going to chintz you on calls.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Eagles have leaned away from the tush push. Now they're not getting as penalized, by the league. We've noticed the last several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, dude. Like, I could see, like.
I mean, you're believing in the Bills here, and that's fine.
I mean, I think I need realistically, let's say the Eagles win this game by a touchdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be much complaining about traveling to Buffalo and beating the Bills by a touchdown, right?
If they beat the Bills,
like the fans would be like,
there's going to be pretty much no complaining if they win,
right?
Tomorrow,
I'm going to assume we're going to rest our starters against the Commanders next week.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it's like that's the quote unquote bye. Like, do you feel better about the Eagles? I mean, because here's the thing is like, is this really a revenge game for 2023 for the Bills? I mean, the Bills have been through so
It's
much
just no one cares. Like, I
crap.
think that game's so relevant now.
Like, Diggs was still on the Bills when this happened,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Like, it just doesn't matter.
It feels so, dude. It feels so long ago when it's really not. If you think about it, but still, like,
Mhm.
I'm taking the Bills to win by like a field goal or something really close, or I don't know, because like
Well, listen,
Jalen Hurts' record as an underdog since Sirianni became the head coach, it's pretty good. I think
yeah,
it's
I
pretty
mean,
good.
there's not many of those games, that's for sure.
I just think I don't know. I think he's kind of due to lose a close game.
I mean,
Like you're envisioning
we've
like
lost some close games here. I'm envisioning the Eagles winning.
AJ's cooking. Like, do you like?
I'm envisioning the Eagles winning like 31 to 20, 24 or 27, something like that. Like I think I'm envisioning a good offensive day where the Eagles can kind of do whatever they want to do. Their issues getting in their way is it's more
I'm envisioning
self-inflicted.
something like 23-20 Bills and Jake misses 2 field goals, and then we're all gonna.
I mean, that would suck. I would actually be worried if that occurs. But anyways, Sunday Night Football, huge game here. Bears, Niners, huge implications on the line. One seed implications on the line. Division implications on the line out west. The Bears are 3-point underdogs on the road here. Short-ish week for the Niners. This is a tough one, man. I've
Well,
been wrestling all week with this.
Brock Purdy probably ruined a lot of people's and helped a lot of people in fantasy this past week. He threw 5 touchdowns. Like the Niners offense. I mean, dude, that offense, regardless of everyone they've been shuffling in and out, they're like still been highly efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, dude, like that Bears win against the Packers, it's their biggest win since like 2018. Like in general, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In general. Do you kind of suspect a flat spot here? Because it felt like the Niners were just. It was almost like watching someone play Madden when they were playing the Colts. Like just literally, everyone was wide open. Everyone was just wide open, and like this is basically like Shanahan masterclass this past week.
Right.
Battle of 2 genius head coaches, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I hate Brock Purdy, man. I hate him so
I know.
much.
I'm picking the Bears because I
I
like the
hate him
Bears more
so
than I
much.
like the Niners.
I hate
And the
him.
Bears they've just been a thorn in everyone's side, and I think that continues a bit. So give me Chicago +3.
I'm taking the Bears as well for a different reason. George Kittle being injured, that's huge. And
It is big.
I also think too, like this feels like it's gonna be like, man, if the Niners just had Fred Warner, because like Monangai picked up that tough first down, and God, if they just had Fred Warner, we haven't really had a whole lot of that this year with the Niners. Like their injuries, to a certain extent, have not really come into play as much as we thought. And I feel like this is the type of game, and maybe when they make the playoffs, like
I think that's where everyone's expecting it to come to a head.
it
Come
could come
playoff
to a
time.
head tonight or tomorrow night.
A little bit, sure. Which takes us to Monday to wrap up Week 17.
Wow. If there's ever a game where everyone's fantasy championship is likely to be decided, it's going to be Monday.
Yeah, Rams, Falcons in Atlanta, 7.5-point spread. I'm taking the Rams. They're coming off obviously that brutal loss against Seattle. And they're like, I'll be honest, I don't think they want to come here and play the Eagles at all. And their best way out of that case is by winning games. Like they know,
I think they would revel in the fact that they want to come here and play the Eagles.
I think there's a deep down we haven't gotten them yet. And sure, they're gonna want to exercise the demon, but when it doesn't happen, they're gonna be like, I can't believe we were cruising to the 1 seed and we finished as the 6. Like that is the fear here. They need to take care of their business to get out of the 6 seed because yeah, man, are they going to be reveling in the fact that they can play the Eagles when the alternative is going to Carolina and playing the Panthers? Like what matters a little bit more? What's a little bit bigger of a challenge for them playing us or Carolina? So clearly they're going to want to take care of their business. Their defense needs a serious bounce back after kind of getting torched. And for that, I'm going to take. I just think Atlanta. They're just what they are at this point. They took care of their business, but it really was ugly. Give me the Rams -7.5.
I'm taking the Rams as well. I do feel like Atlanta, like they don't have their first round pick. So the tank, I mean,
The
tanking,
Falcons have it, or excuse me, the Rams have it. So them beating the Rams would be imperative, but the Rams is the same side of that coin. It's like, listen, we win and we're helping our draft position with this.
correct. And I do think that like the Kirko Chains comeback story, I think it's been cute for the last couple weeks. Like this Rams defense really does need to knuckle down and like just play shutout ball heading into the playoffs because listen, dude, if Bijan has a monster game, if Drake London has a monster game, which they could do, man, the question's gonna be, this is gonna be another disappointing early exit in the playoffs for the Rams with all this talent they have. Like people talk about this Rams team as the most complete team in football.
Yeah.
And like if you're the most complete team in football and you can't even get to the NFC Championship game, dude, like that's just.
Well, listen, they're gonna have a tough road to get there. It's probably gonna take a couple road games.
Yeah.
But anyways, that'll do it for us.
That's our show, everybody. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We want you to enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. Stay safe.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the TheP-LotPod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.